Last is Hart State Park update, and Councilman Haney wanted to give the update.
Well, I asked the mayor to put this on the agenda because we get a lot of questions from time to time since we don't talk about Hart State Park every week, and that's every month is because there's not a lot happens from one month to the next. I've got something I'm going to read, and my response is more editorial. Trey has a very detailed, specific outline of where we are if people from the news media are interested. Mine is in response to try to express some of the frustrations that a lot of the public has expressed to me. So if you don't mind, I'm going to read this. And I wrote it because I was afraid I'd forget what I wanted to say if I didn't write it down. Shortly after I came on the council in 2012, we met with the Corps of Engineers personnel at Lake Hartwell office to discuss the possibility of getting Hart State Park back up and going once again. They led us to believe that would be possible. At the time, a majority of the council voted to pursue a lease. In 2014, we employed Breakpoint Consulting, that's Sean Davis, with a formal contract on March of 15. His top estimate to obtain a lease directly from the Corps of Engineers to the city was $188,500 and should take no more than 10 or 11 months. He had successfully negotiated a similar lease on Lake Lanier. However, he had to deal with the Savannah office instead of the Mobile office, and they were not inclined to do the project as Mobile was. Even though we had the support of the Georgia Department of Natural Resources, the Governor Deal, Alan Powell, Doug Collins' office, Johnny Isaacson office, and many others, they've stonewalled us from day one. Eventually, the project was taken out of Savannah's hands, and Trey, you can correct me here if I get some of this wrong, hands and sent to Washington, D.C., and ultimately to the Undersecretary of the Army. They seemed to suggest support for the project. The state of Georgia has to remain the primary lessor, so we're back to having back to where we were from start, but now we've spent $325,000 as opposed to $188,000. But our attempt was to try to get the state of Georgia out of in between us and the Corps, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. In the original development plan, we put everything that would be nice, and I have nice in quotation marks, to have, such as a hotel, a restaurant, event venues, as well as camping and so forth, knowing that it might be a long shot unless we could negotiate a term length that would be advantageous for a large investor such as a hotel. We were told that if we didn't put it in the original plan, it wouldn't be almost impossible to add it later, so we put it in. We've gotten a lot of criticisms about thinking we're going to get a hotel down there. Well, we might not, but if we don't put it in, it's for darn sure we won't ever get it. If we have nothing but camping approved in our original plan, I question why our campground investor why we need to deal directly with the state rather than us, since the state's going to have to obviously stay involved. And I'm expressing that because that's what's been expressed to me. I want to ensure the taxpayers that none of the $325,000 has come from local taxes. It's come from an economic development fund grant that was obtained for the city several years ago. It has been primarily used as a low-interest loan, but with interest rates being as low as they've been, and with the matching requirement that the program, part of the program, very few businesses have been using our program. We believe that a portion of this grant can be used as an investment program for economic development, which is what we did to finance this. However, the plan has been to repay the funds once the lease payments over 10 years went into effect, with any overage going to reinvestment in the project. This fund can only be used for economic development. It cannot be used to offset city expenses. If someone asks, well, why don't you use that money to help pay the paving streets? Well, we can't. That's not what it's for. That's what the guidelines with the grant was done. I've covered some of the major events, very few, but some of the major events that have occurred during this journey. There have been several times more minor but critical events that have slowed us down. All this being considered, even though we are not continuing we are not continuing to expend funds, and even though Sean continues to work on our behalf at no charge, I think it is time for us to consider exiting any further interest in the program. It appears to me that the Corps of Engineers is the most powerful department in Washington, D.C., since they don't have to listen to any senators or any congressman or anybody else. And they do not plan to give us the type lease that we need in order to see the park fully developed using private money as planned. It's time to pack our bags and go home. 6 years of discussion is long enough.
Okay. Any other questions or comments regarding it?
And I do want to say, if you want details, Trey's supplied them.
I agree with Tony. I think we've done everything we can do. To me, the Corps of Engineers and the state of Georgia built this park. They need to take it back over and fix it and open it back up. And the city of Hartwell does not need to be in the park business. I'm sorry. That's my feeling.
David, it's been quite a number of months since we've expended any funds regarding this. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Since about January, so about all of this year.
Last year.
Yeah. So about this whole year, we've just basically been waiting on the Corps. They'll say it's imminent, and they would say, well, it's not imminent. This is when you say, well, where's it stopped at in this report, it'll tell you. But I mean, this thing's in Washington, D.C. at the top of the top. And so we have screamed and hollered at everybody we could possibly get to help us. And they've written letters and on behalf. And we do feel like in recent days there has been some indication that they're going to make some final decisions. But I think Tony's correct. We feel like we've been misled from day one. We feel like we've been told one thing and another thing was done along the way. They asked us to jump and we jumped higher than they wanted us to jump. And so that's been very frustrating when we see an asset that pretty much has been left to deteriorate. And being a community that's so tourism based, it's really a shame that one of our primary destination areas was really left behind. I'm hopeful that the state of Georgia, I'm like Mike too, if this project gets a final no from the Corps, for instance, I would seriously hope that, that park could be opened back up in some way or another. You would think with the economy the way it is, the state would see the value in it as well. But, just some things shouldn't be as hard as they are, you wouldn't think. Lake Lanier's been a huge economic impact for that area, and so we really want to see Hart State Park do the same thing for Hartwell. Go ahead, Councilman Higgins.
I appreciate the frustration of this council and of this community. I don't know of anybody that has experienced frustration as much as I have over the last 6 years dealing with this. We are nowhere near at a stage to stop now. We are there. We're going to have a decision on this, and I know we've heard this and we've heard that, but we're there. I want to put some of this into perspective. November of 2017 is when the environmental assessment was finally issued by the Corps of Engineers. So a lot of this time was taken up on getting every answer, every T, every I, and every time we thought we had it, they'd come back and say, you got to do one more thing. All of that's been done. As of officially November a year ago is when we really got to the stage of negotiating the lease. We went to the Savannah office. We felt like we had accomplished what we were supposed to accomplish there, and then they backpedaled on us. They sent us, to the degree the Corps of Engineers sent us a lease for us to approve. We sent that lease back, and then they backpedaled on us. Right now, Congressman Collins' office has taken lead on this project. They are meeting with the Assistant Secretary to the United States Army, Corps of Engineers, Civil Works is what it is. His name is R.D. James. They're meeting with his office, and with the legal counsel office for the Corps of Engineers in Washington every week, because Congressman Collins is as frustrated as we are, because he understands the economic impact, and he also understands that if we don't get this thing resolved very quickly, we're going to miss another season because of the piddling around that the Corps has done to this stage. To stop it at this stage, like I say, we've only been negotiating the lease for actually a year. In Congressman Collins' possession, and what he's working with is we have letters from the chamber explaining the economic impact. He's got that. He understands that. We have letters from the county commissioners where they have come out and supported us on this. We have a resolution from the board of directors from the Georgia DNR. They didn't write a letter. They went ahead and made a resolution supporting this. We have a letter from the commissioner of the Georgia DNR that was just written in October of this year because he felt like that maybe they needed one more push, and he pushed it on. May of this year, the governor sent a letter to the Corps of Engineers and to the undersecretary or the assistant secretary to the United States Army. We have support from our senators and our congressmen at a state level and at the federal level. It's just tied up in bureaucracy right now.
Trey, I guess my point is though, when do you say we quit? We've been going for 6 years now. It's going to happen next month. It's going to happen next week. It's going to happen next. When do we say we quit?
Well, I don't understand why we need to say we quit. It's not costing us anything.
I know that. It's not long, but at some point in time, it's going to cost something.
And at that point in time, we'll negotiate that. But right now, it's not costing us anything. And all we're waiting on is what we've been waiting on for the last year is a decision.
We've been waiting. That's the point. And that's what everybody's frustrated about. I know you're frustrated.
I'm extremely frustrated.
I'm frustrated that we spent almost twice as much money as we were told we were going to have to spend.
I am as frustrated as well.
And also, until we make a decision, the state of Georgia.
And here's something I just thought about. It sounds extremely hypocritical. DNR is willing to pass a resolution for us to do it. If it's such a good program, why don't they keep doing it?
That's right. Because we'll pay for it.
Again, the reason that we stepped into play.
Doing anything, and Hart County was supporting that part.
Right. The reason we stepped into play in this to start with is because the state wasn't doing it this part.
I understand.
And we felt like as a community.
I'm just saying that I'm tired of being told it's going to happen next week. It's going to happen next month. 3 weeks from now, we're going to have a lease. We're going to have something in 3 weeks. We've been told that so many times straight. I don't believe it anymore.
And I feel your frustration, but we are there. We are drinking of the water.
How many times have you told us that?
Over the last year, several, because that's what I've been told. And all I do is I take what the Corps of Engineers gives us and I bring it back to you.
I understand that. That's why I said you can't believe anything the Corps says.
Who is telling you this?
Who's telling me what?
What you just said, that you've been told, well, we're ready there. You can start drinking the fresh water from the River Jordan or whatever. But where are you getting this?
From Doug Collins' office.
Okay. You have a letter that has that on it?
Sure, right here.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I do have Doug's office, his letter.
No, either.
But you don't have anything from the Army Corps of Engineers?
With me tonight? No, sir. I found out at 4:30 tonight that this discussion was going to come about. I apologize to the public that I'm not better prepared for this type of discussion. I was told that we were just going to do an update in this meeting as to where we were. So I am not prepared.
That's what I think we're doing. We're trying to figure out. And I will tell you, if you deal with Army, if it's not in writing, you can forget it. It ain't going to happen.
Yeah. We have things from the Corps of Engineers. We have, and I'd be glad to forward those emails to you. We have emails and letters from the the Assistant Secretary of the United States Army. We have emails and letters from them stating that they have these documents and they are working on them and asking for patience from us.
I think
Yes.
we've been more than patient.
Tony, I do not disagree, but to walk away from this project at this stage is a complete waste of taxpayers' dollars.
Well, it was just very frustrating because we were told by many professionals that had the decisions to approve and all this whole project that there were steps that needed to be made, and that if we made them, we'd get what we needed on the other end. And it's like the goalpost was completely moved, and we've had to employ a number of powerful people to help us. And we're obviously very helpful.
And you said something too that I'm really fear. I mean, it's not going to be long. We're definitely going to miss another camping season.
Yes.
In there.
If we don't,
if it doesn't happen in the next 30 to 60 days,
yes.
you're going to miss it.
Right. And again, Congressman Collins' office is very much aware of that.
I'm not sure even if we had at least a day, you're not going to miss it.
I don't disagree with that as well, sir. Congressman Collins' office is very well aware.
My fear is then we've got this guy that's been very patient with us, has the means and wherewithal to do it. At some point in time, he's going to take his money and go somewhere else.
At some point in time, he is, sir. But just last Wednesday,
he called me last week, and I did talk with him last week because my fears were exactly like yours. I was afraid that he was calling and say, "Look, I'm tired," but he told me he is as frustrated as we are. However, he is good to go. He's excited, and he's still as
I hope he still is
committed as he was day one.
He was that excited last Wednesday. As of last Wednesday, this gentleman was still on board and still wanting to move forward, and still negotiating on where and how he wants to put things here. The negotiations are taking longer than any of us expected. At the first meeting, we said that we may have to go to the undersecretary. That was said right up front, that it might have to go to that, depending on what we ran into along the way. And we are there. We're in his office. We've been in his office for about 4 months now. He has his legal counsel working on it with the legal counsel, not from the Savannah district, but from headquarters in Washington, D.C. I can't make them move any faster. They're doing their due diligence just as we're supposed to do we did our due diligence. Took us from the beginning of this all the way to a year ago this month, November of 2000.
Why did it take that long for us to do? We hired Sean to look after all that. Why did it take him that long to get all that stuff done?
It wasn't, David.
Actually, what happened was that when we would do what we needed to do, then they would ask for something else, and then they would want something else. And it kept, the mayor hit it right. It seemed like the goalposts keep moving. And now
It sounds like to me they don't want to do this.
Well, there's a few. I'll agree. There's a couple in there probably that don't.
We know well aware.
But I can't prove it, but my gut feeling tells me that.
For the public's sake, the property as it sits now is a mess. It's a mess. I mean, everybody complains that I know. It's not being policed like it was in the past. There's nobody there overseeing it. You got bridges, falling down on the walkways. You got trees in the walkways. You got grass growing up. You got various things broke, toilets, whatever you want to say. And dogs, people have their dogs out there and they let them run around. People are getting bit. It's a mess. And it's just a shame that the state walked from it. And they did it, and they don't have anything else. It'll get back to them, but they walked away from the project. They did. And what it's done is they've done the bare minimum. And you got a community like Hartwell, we get left behind because we're not Atlanta. And I'll say it again, we get left behind because it's not Atlanta on stuff like this. And that's just the truth of it. So we're very disappointed that it come to this. And our frustrations are pretty heated here, as you can tell. From day one, this council made a decision, which even predated myself, was to make this a world-class facility or park that would attract and bring people in. Now you go, it's kind of come as you go, do what you want to do, park your camper, come back and get it when you want to. Now, people can say that's not the way it works, but people call us all the time complaining that that's the way it's done. They call the county complaining. And Hartwell deserves better because we are better. We're as good as anybody else. And we'll get to the bottom of it one way or the other. I don't think we're going to solve anything else tonight. But fire emails up the chain, whatever we got to do, we got to get an answer.
Yeah, and I encourage anyone that is frustrated to write Congressman Collins's office in support of this. They are very well aware of what's going on. The congressman is working diligently on this.
All right. I said, city manager comments. You got anything, David?
Yes, sir. A couple of items. One is I want to let you know that